Hi everyone. Um, Today is going to be a bit of a heavy one. It's a subject that is really difficult to talk about, and but is far too common in society. And at the moment, we're seeing quite a lot of things in the news about violence of men against women, and it doesn't always mean it's a stranger that can be the perpetrator of this. It can sometimes be someone you know, and it can even be someone in your own family. And today, very bravely, my wife has asked me to do a talk with her because she was unfortunately the victim of abuse at quite a young age.
Yeah, I think I was 6 or 7
Wow.
when it happened. Yeah.
I know this is really a difficult subject to talk about, and thank you so much for being brave enough to talk about this. And the reason you gave me for wanting to talk about this was because you just thought that if anybody had also gone through the same thing as you, that, you know, if it helped them come forward or just normalise what happened to them, and that's what you thought would be the benefit of doing this.
Took me till I was, 27? Till I actually said anything. And it's taken me 8 years to be able to, talk about it at a comfortable level. I might get upset, I don't know, but I feel alright now at the minute. And I know in the past it has really upset me. And it has triggered a lot of anxiety in me, and it's not manifested itself in a good way. I've self-harmed and I'm not proud of it.
When you say self-harmed, just for the people listening, how did that manifest?
I've cut myself. I've cut myself quite a lot. I've still got the scars on me from it, especially on my legs. Um, and I still pick at myself. I constantly pick at myself. I'm constantly picking at my arms and everything. I look a fucking mess.
Scratching and kind of picking at scabs and things. And
Yeah, when I get anxious, I just kind of start picking, and it's just a way of coping. I guess it's just a way of I can take the pain away of what I'm thinking with actual pain.
yeah, yeah, it's very normal. You know, self-harm is a very common thing. It's quite. I think it's more common amongst women, sort of cutting and things. But I saw a lot of it in prison. You see a lot of people with slices, lots of once the scar tissue. You know, people who have regularly self-harmed. You know, their arm looks like a chopping board after a while.
Yeah. I mean, my hands now, the scars have healed and everything. I can actually start seeing what I've done to myself. I was quite lucky in thinking, I haven't really done much damage to myself, but I can see there is a couple of cuts and stuff.
Yeah,
But it's taken me a long time to be able to get to the point of being able to talk about it.
yeah. Because you've been through therapy and things as well. You've had a couple of sessions of
I've had 2 bouts of 6 months of counselling.
Yeah. And how did you find that?
It was fucking horrendous. I hated every minute of it. It helped, don't get me wrong, it helped to talk about it, but it was fucking horrible.
Yeah.
Just reliving it and talking about it and just getting it out there, because, like I said, it took me till I was 27 to actually say anything. I just remember it was on my mind constantly for a couple of weeks, to the point it kind of just boiled over, and I was in the kitchen. I remember I was making us a cup of coffee or a cup of tea or whatever, and I was just physically shaking. My arms were just, I just couldn't cope. I was just like, I have to say something. I can't cope with this anymore. I've kept the lid on it. I've never said anything. It was on my mind constantly every day, but I never said anything. And it got to the point where it blew up, basically, and I just kind of blurted it all out to you.
I remember. Because I remember you told me in several phases. Excuse me. You told me first of all that that you'd been abused when you was younger, but you weren't ready to tell me who it was. And then it was. I don't remember the timeline of how sort of long it was, but I remember some time later you then were able to tell me who it was that abused you.
Oh, it was horrible. Yeah. It was horrible. It was just. I just couldn't keep just couldn't keep it to myself anymore. I had to say something, and it was just like, this is what happened to me was fucking wrong, and it was fucked up, and the what's happened since really is just being a bit of a fucking piss take.
No, I understand. So, I mean, how much? What kind of detail are you comfortable going into now about the story? I mean, I know obviously you said to me just now there's things you don't want to say to me because of sort of how graphic it is, but I mean, just for the people listening, I mean, what did you want to describe of your experience?
I was raped repeatedly when I was 6 or 7 by somebody in my family, and when I told my parents about it, they just kind of said, "You're fucking crazy. You smoke too much weed. This is completely a fabrication of your mind." And when they said to this particular family member about it, they said, "She smokes too much weed." So they think that I'm fucking crazy. I'm not fucking crazy. And it fucking breaks me that they think that. And it's that's why I never fucking said anything for all those years, because they used to say to me, if you say anything to Mum, then she'll fucking think that you're lying. And that's what, when I said to them about it, what he said to me was basically true.
Yeah. And how did that make you feel?
They fucking sent me to Lally for a while. Yeah, it sent me fucking crazy for a bit. And that's why I had to go to the counselling and stuff, because it was just like, even all those years later, like, exactly what he said was just like, it was true. You say anything to her, she won't believe you. It's just bullshit. But I have to live with that, the fact that even to this day, they don't believe it. And this is why I wanted to do this. I'm sorry I'm getting upset. This is why I want to do this. Like, I just wanted to give someone else the courage to just come forward and just go, this has happened to me, and it's not okay. You're not the only one. It's don't just sit there and say nothing. It's just really not healthy. It really isn't. You just have to say something, and even if it's just like somebody like to us, if you want to just come forward and say it to us, it's fine. We were, completely it's not going to go any further or anything. It's just like, if you feel like you can talk to us, please just send us a message and stuff. It's just, don't just keep it to yourself. It's just, I don't know what to say.
That's okay. So once you felt like you were ready to talk to me, what happened then?
I just couldn't keep it. I just had to say something. It felt better for saying something. But then it took a long time to fucking heal from it, and it took a long time to fucking be able to get to grips with it.
Now we're talking about a 20-year period from when it happened to when you felt able to talk to someone. Now, that's a long time,
It's
a
very fucking
long
long time.
time frame for it to come bubbling to the surface in the way that it, you know, and when the way you described it, it sounds like almost like, you know, when you shake up a bottle of drink and it's ready to explode.
Oh god, it was. It just it was just coming out. Like my whole body was shaking. I just could not keep it. I just couldn't cope with it anymore. And I thought if I just share it, at least I'll be able to just feel like a little bit of relief from it. Because you know it fucked me up for a long fucking time, and I mean a long fucking time.
I don't know how you coped for that long.
I was messed up.
How did it make you feel, sort of, when you were that young, not being able to, being afraid of, because obviously what he'd said to you about, you know, if you speak to your parents, they're gonna, you know, if you speak to your mum, especially, or your mum and dad, they're not going to believe you. What did that feel like as a you know, a small child at that young age? I can't even remember what kind of thought processes I had as, you know, 6 and 7 year old. But how did that make you feel back then? You know, what were your thoughts then?
It just made me feel like I couldn't speak to Mum about anything because Mum wouldn't believe me about anything, and I felt like I couldn't speak to anybody. I just felt really isolated, and I just didn't. They manipulated me, saying if I said anything, nobody would believe me, and they'd be angry with me. And not even funny, knowing what Mum was like, and she was fucking fly off the handle at everything. I was like, the last thing I need to do is fucking like get her upset and get her angry with me. So I didn't say anything, and it just it was horrible. Like you.
It scared you enough that you didn't say anything for all that time?
Well, no, because I didn't think anybody would believe me because it was my word against his.
Yeah.
And even to this day, I'm the fucking lunatic. I'm not a fucking lunatic. I know what he did. He knows what he did to me. But because I can't even go to the police because there's no evidence. But I know what he fucking did, and he knows what he did to me. And that, you know, I have to live with the fact I can't even there's no fucking evidence. And if they seem to think that because I smoke weed, I'm a fucking lunatic, I'm not a fucking lunatic. I smoke weed because it helps me cope with what goes on in my head. It's like a coping mechanism. And I know it's not healthy, and I know like self-harming wasn't a healthy way to cope with it. But sometimes it just felt like that was the only way that I could deal with stuff. It's just that would take my mind off of it, and you know, looking back at it, it's just retarded, and it's just not healthy at all. But your thought processes aren't logical then when it's constantly going around in your head. Why did it happen to me? Why did you do that to me? You know, why didn't I say something sooner? It's just constant questions going on in your head.
I just listening to this, I don't know how you coped at all.
It was horrible. I was an odd child, if truth be told. I really was an odd child. Like, I didn't have many friends. I found school very difficult, and yeah, I hid away in I was a fucking fat child as well. Like, I just hated being me. I just hated being a girl. I hated everything about it. I hated growing up. Growing up was fucking tough. Looking back at it now, I'd have fucking told me to just fucking said something. Like, why the fuck would you let him get away with that? Why would you let him do that?
It's difficult though, isn't it? Because trying to look at things from an adult's point of view, you know, you're looking at things through your adult eyes back at a child, and you know, it's, you know, when you're a kid, you know, you don't know anything, and you only have that kind of structure, and obviously you were let down.
It was just hard going, and yeah, and just having to like just go through puberty and stuff, and it was just horrendous, and I just hated every minute of it. It was just fucked up. Yeah, I had a very fucked up childhood, and just having to like carry on like nothing had ever happened, and just him being around.
How did it affect relationships? So, I mean, when you had sort of boyfriends and things growing up, I mean, how did it affect? When did it affect you having boyfriends? Was it just, did you have a normal kind of teenage years, or was it?
No, absolutely not. I like I said, I didn't want to. I used to just wear trousers and t-shirts. I mean, I used to wear James's t-shirts and stuff.
When you say James, that's your brother.
Yeah, that's just James. Yeah, my brother. I used to wear his t-shirts and stuff, and they would be like from the pub and that, so it'd be like Guinness and Stella and stuff. I just didn't want to have anything girly. I just wasn't a girly person at all. Anything girly, no. Hated it. I'm complete opposite now. Absolute complete opposite now, but it was just, I just hated being a girl, and I hated growing up. I just hated me. I just hated everything about me. I had absolutely nothing good to say about me whatsoever.
And you think that came from the abuse?
Absolutely.
That you thought
I couldn't enjoy being a child. I had to fucking grow up very fucking quickly. You know? "7 years old, you shouldn't be fucking a victim of the things that I went through. You shouldn't even have to know about the things that I went through." And to not be able to talk to anybody about it, and just have to just bottle it up. Like you said, it was just a fizzing can. It was going to explode at some point, and it, took me till I was 27 to say something. I'm glad I have said something. I've, completely grown as a person from it, and from the counselling I've had and stuff. It was horrible to have to relive it, and have to relive some of the details that, I went through. But yeah, I don't think I'd be able to sit here 8 years ago and be able to talk to you about it as, able as I am.
Now, when after you spoke to me about it, and you kind of said to me what happened and things, that's when you then tried to seek counselling and things, wasn't it? How did you get help? What help was available to you? How did you seek it out?
I remember I went to it was one session of counselling. Like,
how did you get the counselling? How did you find?
I had to self-refer it.
So you had to go to the doctors, did you? Or?
No, I asked the doctors about it, and they said you need to make a self-referral, which was fucking horrible. And I think I put it off for a little bit.
And when you say self-referral, who was that to?
It's Outlook Southwest.
Okay.
So I had to put in a self-referral with them, and yeah, you kind of have to make sure you really want to go through with it, because it's obviously a self-referral.
Yeah.
So I did put it off for a couple of weeks, I think. Because, yeah, I'd spent so long being in control of it, being in control of not saying anything and keeping this horrible secret to myself. Having to talk to somebody about it was like difficult, you know, just being able to sort of like divulge information. It was, yeah, weird.
Did you find that the counselling helped? You said you had two. Did you say 2 lots of 6 months?
2 lots of 6 months, yeah.
So how did? I mean, 6 months is a long time. How often did you go?
Every week.
Every week.
Once a week, yeah.
And did you find that helped you? I mean, what was the kind of, without obviously going into any detail you're not comfortable with, I mean, how was the sort of counselling structured?
I basically went to the local, where was it? The first time it was like a mental health place, and that's only because they had like rooms available. It wasn't the fact that it was, you know, it was counselling or anything. I got referred to Crasac, which was like a rape support counselling place, which was free counselling.
Yeah.
And I basically had an hour every week, and it did really help. I hated the first time. The second time was easier, and I think it was like 2 years between it. The first lot of sessions, and the second lot of sessions was a couple of years. But yeah, no, it did help.
So every week for 6 months.
And if I like missed 2 sessions, it had to be cancelled. But yeah,
that's a lot of sessions.
it is a lot of sessions.
How did you find it? I mean, just emotionally, just having to go in there and recount it. I mean, because was you talking about it every session, or was you just maybe talking about how are you getting on day to day in some sessions, or?
No, I pretty much would talk about it every session.
Did that help in maybe shining a light on a subject that you'd maybe trapped away? I mean, how did you feel talking about it every session for 6 months, or most sessions for 6 months? I mean, that would.
It was hard going.
I bet.
Yeah, it was really hard going. Having to like relive it all and stuff, and just trying to like answer some questions that I had, like why on earth would he do something like this to me? Why would he just keep doing it? Do you know what I mean? Like, why would you do that? Why would you manipulate somebody that was so young to do such horrendous things? You know, it's just fucked up.
No one should have to go through that.
No, they shouldn't. But unfortunately it happens.
It happens far too commonly as well.
It really does.
So you're far from being like a lone victim in this kind of thing.
No, not at all.
This is far too common. I mean, and it's not just women, it's men as well getting, boys getting abused. So it's far from, you're not alone at all. And anybody listening to this is probably going to have, a similar story, no, maybe not a similar story, but a story. And this is what I found from just doing this podcast is so many people have got stories to tell. Just along different lines. It doesn't have to be abuse, but just everyone's got something fucked up that's happened to them.
Absolutely. And, don't sit and keep a lid on it.
Normal's never normal. Nobody is normal. There is no normal. It's, people's ability to hide their fucked up past is what makes them look normal. But everyone's got some shit they're fucking trying their best to fucking keep a cap on. So, once you've gone through the first bout of counselling, you said you spent a couple of years and then you went through another sort of 6 months. Did you feel that you maybe just needed, again, to try and sort out some shit? I mean, because what was your reason for going back again?
my reason for going back again was the fact that I was speaking to Mum about it, and she didn't fucking believe me.
So again, okay. So after you spoke to me, you then went to go and tell your parents. Just sort of, how did that go? Because obviously it's someone in your family that we're talking about. So how did you? What happened when you went to go and just go and speak to your mum and dad about it?
Well, they couldn't quite believe it to begin with, and yeah, 'cause Mum kept saying, I don't know quite what to think about this. And I'm like, look, I have absolutely nothing to fucking gain out of saying anything about this. It's not the fact that I want to say any of this, but I cannot keep it to myself anymore. I have to say something. Like, I've got nothing to gain whatsoever. Like, I wish this wasn't true, but unfortunately it is. And this person is a fucking wrong'un and needs to be exterminated from the earth. And the fact that Mum's still in contact with him now is just a fucking joke.
What was your did your dad say anything?
Dad doesn't say anything anyway. He's under Mum's fucking thumb. He wouldn't say fuck all. So the only people that, you are the only is the only person that fucking believes what I have to say. Because I haven't really said anything to any of my friends. Why the fuck would they want to know this?
It's not something you just sort of wave on a flag always, is it?
I don't fucking broadcast it at all. Not at all. I don't broadcast it to anybody.
And how long ago was it when you... Do you remember how long ago it was you told your mum and dad?
I think it was a couple of days after you.
No, I mean, how long ago were we talking in sort of... When did you tell them, date-wise? Do you remember?
I think it was about this time 8 years ago.
About 8 years ago?
Yeah.
Okay, so...
It was just after we got married.
There was a period after you told them and they didn't believe you that you stopped seeing them, didn't you?
I didn't speak to them for about 3 years.
For 3 years afterwards, because they didn't believe you?
No, I was just like, do you know what? I don't need this shit in my life anymore. I'm old enough to make my own decisions and to think, do you know what? My mental health is worth more than my relationship with my parents.
Yeah.
And I know that's fucking horrible, and I know they're my parents, but it was either that or I think I was going to kill myself. I couldn't cope with the fact that people that mean the most to me didn't believe me, and that was hard. So I just thought, you know what, it's probably better off for my own mental stability to not speak to them. So I just cut them out of my life. And I didn't have anything to do with them. They tried their best to speak to me, get into contact with me, and I just ignored it. I just thought, you know what, I don't give a fuck anymore. If you cannot see what this person is like, and he was a little fuck as well, then that's on you. So, yeah, fuck him.
So in that 3 years you had very little contact with him.
I had no contact.
It was maybe a Christmas card every now and then, wasn't it? It wasn't much though, was it? It was...
No.
You'd drop off stuff, because you weren't, trying to be an arsehole, so you'd drop off like a birthday card or something, wouldn't you? But you wouldn't go in and see them.
No, I'd put like a birthday card through the door, but that would be it.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't, yeah.
There wasn't complete no contact, but it was a very bare minimum, wasn't it?
I didn't want to speak to them, I didn't want to see them.
But in the end, after that 3 years, I think it was your dad was ill or something, wasn't he? So you ended up sort of, that's what cracked the wall in the end. Didn't something happen with your dad? He had a fall or something?
He had something. Because Mum's friend messaged me, didn't she?
Yeah, and that kind of opened up the communication again, didn't it?
Yeah. The relationship's never going to be the same again.
But at least you're talking to them and things now, aren't you? Like for the last few years, if we're saying it was 8 years ago, then we're talking about 5 years. You've been speaking to them again.
don't think it's that long. I think it's about 2.
Okay.
Yeah, it's about 2 years.
So a lot of people are going to be saying or thinking, why don't you go to the police now? Why don't you go to the police now, give a statement, let the police handle it, and let justice prevail? I mean, what's stopping you from going to the police now?
Lack of evidence. It's my word against his. He's got my parents' side on his. I've got you. I've watched, was it 24 Hours in Police Custody, and there was a girl basically said that someone in her family had been raping her, and because of lack of evidence, he got away with it.
Yeah. Is that your biggest fear then? Is that you're going to go through all of that? You're going to have to recount everything, because that's what you'd have to do. You'd have to recount everything in detail, and then you're going to have to go through all that emotional distress, and then you just think that nothing's going to happen anyway.
Yeah. Just feels like it's just pointless.
What if when the police are questioning him, he cracks? What if there's maybe a whole bunch of other allegations against him that haven't been substantiated, but there's 5 or 6 other people that are all coming forward saying that a similar thing's happened?
I don't know, I don't know who though. I think he only did it to me because it was easy.
Was it only in that sort of short period? I mean, was it in those couple of years? I mean, did it happen afterwards and things?
No, it was just for 2 news until he basically moved away.
So it only stopped when he moved away?
Yeah. Basically.
So that doesn't mean it stopped for him. It just means it stopped for you. There could be other victims out there as well.
Never thought about it like that. I hate him. I hate him for what he's done. I do feel like he has ruined my life.
He ruined that part of it, definitely. With such, especially at a young age, it's almost like when you're setting off a rocket, a couple of degrees difference at the base can end up in that rocket going in fucking, by the time it gets up into space, it's tens of thousands of miles off track, and that's what happens with you, obviously, at such a young age, and with, there's a fucking shitty decisions I made at a young age then end up with by the time I'm in my 40s, I'm fucking 20% off track, and you're fucking emotionally off track and things like this. It's just so fucking damaging to be, to have these things happen to you at a young age. It then sends you as an adult, you're 20 degrees off track from where someone, let's say, whatever normal is, someone having a normal childhood, in that band, where you didn't get abused and your parents are alcoholics and make great decisions, but, so, yeah, those couple of degrees off at a young age leads to being massive percentiles off as an adult and being able to deal with decisions. Now, as a, I'm going to get this wrong, 35-year-old now.
Well done.
Well done. So as a 35-year-old now, how do you feel like it affects you? Because you're a strong mofo now. And
fucking right.
Yeah.
I want to feel like I can own it, and I feel like tonight I haven't owned it. I've got a bit upset and I don't like the fact that I got upset by it.
It's really upsetting. It's a wound and it's raw. And unfortunately, with 6 months, I remember you going to counselling. I didn't remember it was 6 months, and I don't remember it was every week. I thought it was like fortnightly or something, but it was.
No, every week.
But,
6 months.
So how much talking about it and how much fucking reliving that is it going to take to make it, like a callusis and make it so that you're not affected by it? I think if it was going to be in that way, that it would have happened by now. It's horrendous, and nobody should have to go through that. So I don't think you're fucking weak or bad for not being able to talk about it and feel bad. This is a fucking heavy episode. And there's going to be people listening to this who have gone through their own shit. And like you say, my email address is on the banner. Click on the contact me. My email address is there if you want to. Or go onto Instagram and fucking follow us and message me if you want to talk to us about this. Just sharing stuff or just typing it down is going to be the first step to,
healing. Heal from it.
Yeah, even if we can't bring these fucking predators to justice, do you know how difficult it is for me to not fucking go and do something? You know how easy I fucking fly off the handle.
You wanted to kill him.
I remember when you told me, I retched.
You did. You really thought.
Just because I thought of it.
And that upset me. Like, I know it was a reaction to it, but that upset me because it was like, all of these years I've had control over it. Like, it's only been me knowing about it. And letting go of that was fucking horrible. And that was hard, man. And just
taking that little
like, your first reaction was that, and that just really kind of like made me tense up again. And it was like, this is too much. I can't sit.
Can you imagine hearing something and then retching?
Yeah.
Normally like a human reaction would be to taste, smell, or fucking drink something that makes you want to throw up. But I heard something that made me want to throw up. And it was genuinely my natural reaction.
Yeah.
I always want to protect you. And I'm always going to protect you.
It was just hard, man. It was, difficult. But, yeah.
Now, if anybody has been through a similar situation, then there's lots of help out there available. Whether you believe it or not isn't the fucking issue. The issue is to make sure that you can move on and deal with it in a healthy way. Now, obviously, you talked about self-harm. I remember we've had arguments and you've cut yourself afterwards and things because it's what do we call it? It's a coping mechanism.
Yeah.
So you dealt with self-harm as a coping mechanism. There's lots of people who do the same thing. There's lots of people who do other things as coping mechanisms to kind of, put a lid on these things. You went through 2 bouts of counselling. Did you feel like you actually benefited from the counselling? Do you feel like the counselling gave you tools or any kind of skills to help with do this?
The counselling definitely helped. Definitely, 100%. Just being able to talk to somebody who didn't know me, didn't know the situation, just being able to open up honestly about it. It was good. It was, well, looking back on it, I mean, at the time I fucking hated it. I hated every minute of it.
It's not easy, obviously, going through it. And
it was mentally draining.
Yeah.
It was mentally draining, and looking back on it now, it 100% gave me post-traumatic stress, because the anxiety that I went through was awful. The physically shaking, the erratic thoughts. Like, I remember coming home on the bus and just sitting on the bus crying, and I had no idea what the fuck was going on. And I was like, I'm just going to get off the bus and walk the 7 miles home. bearing in mind I got fucked knees and I can't do it, I was like, no, fuck it, I'm going to walk home, it's fine. And it's like, oh God, it just the constant anxiety. Yeah. But I had to do it. I had to go through it all. Just to be able to fucking heal and be able to get to the point where I can talk about it. And I'm not fucking comfortable about talking about it now. I'm twitching. I'm wanting to scratch myself. I'm not. I'm being very good and I'm... Yeah.
I mean, anybody listening to this now, I mean, we're 40 minutes in, if you're, we're still here. This is... I imagine the people listening to this is, it's just joining us on this roller coaster. You've been so brave, and just I'm constantly in awe of you.
Gotta own it. There's a comedian that I like listening to. She's called Miss Pat, and she's an American comedian, and she's fucking amazing. She basically went through a very similar situation. She was raped at a very young age by her uncle, wasn't it? Her stepdad, and she's had a very fucked up life. She's been shot a couple of times.
She got shot in the titty.
She did get shot in the tits. But yeah, look her up, Miss Pat. She is a rape survivor as well, and she fucking owns it. She absolutely owns her story, and she makes a comedy sketch out of it, which is completely bonkers in my eyes. But yeah, she fucking owns it. And that's what I want to be. I want to own it, and I want to feel like I can...
Take possession of it. So it's not happening to you. It's part of what made you you.
Because all it is I'm just reliving memories. It's not happening to me every day. I'm not going through it every single day. It's something that's being brought up in my memories, and I've had it locked away for so many years. So many years that, it was horrible to kind of open the lid on it all.
No, I obviously not on the same scale, but I felt the same thing. So a lot of my time at Portland prison, I repressed because it was so shitty and so horrible, and I was bullied, and it was a fucking really low point in my life, and all the rest of it. Now, I know what you're talking about when you say about repressing it, because I basically shut the door on that. And when it was only when I started thinking about the Diary podcast that I started really digging deep into my memory and just thinking, oh, fucking hell, that was 2 years of my life that was fucking hell. Now, that's, obviously it's not the same as what you went through, but I can easily see how you can just box off something in your mind, put it to the back of your mind and never ever shine a torch on it again, and you kind of move on with your life and just think, oh, that never happened, and because obviously you've had to go to family events, family gatherings and just time at home and all the rest of it. I mean, how did you cope with that?
It was always on my mind, but it's just, if I said anything, who the fuck's gonna believe me? I remember I wanted to tell Mum, I can't remember when it was. It must have been when I was about 18 maybe, 17, 18, and I was really, really close to telling Mum, and I just thought, she ain't gonna fucking believe me. What's the point? What am I gonna tell her? What is it gonna achieve? Me telling her? She's gonna just think, no, she's talking shit. And then, surprise, surprise, when I eventually plucked up the courage to tell her, she thinks I'm talking shit. It's fucking hard, man.
Have you thought about challenging them again and just saying, look, we need to really address this, because, you guys are kind of living on a status quo of not really talking about it at the moment, because you guys, you both know that it's there on the table, but nobody's looking at it. The elephant's in the room the whole time.
Absolutely.
But nobody's talking about it. So have you thought about addressing it with them again? I mean, obviously, it's very easy to just sit back and not do anything because it's comfortable and it's easy to not do anything. It's not, because what you're asking them to do is pick a side again, and they don't want to do that.
Well, this is it. So what am I going to achieve by saying anything?
Exactly.
It's just going to fuck me off because they ain't going to fucking believe me.
Yeah.
And that's I don't want to be in that situation where I think, do you know what? I don't really want to fucking speak to you again.
No.
It's on the verge of that every fucking week anyway, because she fucking does my head in. But, do you know what I mean? Like, I've got myself to a point with my mental health, but it's not too bad at the minute. Like, I don't ever feel like I hurt myself. And to feel like that at this point in 8 years since saying something and beyond. Like, yeah. It's fucked up, man. I had a very fucked up life. But if I can help other people, it's not gone to waste.
And when you say you can help other people, there's possibly going to be people listening to this right now who have gone through a similar thing. Maybe it be a person of trust, a family member, a teacher, stranger, colleague at work. What would your advice be to them right now?
Speak to somebody. Just tell somebody what they're doing to you, or how you're feeling, or if they're feeling.
Who would you recommend you speak to?
Someone that you trust.
Partner.
Yeah, absolutely. Friend, partner.
Someone.
Even if it's somebody like
Samaritans.
Yeah, absolutely. Or if you feel like you just can't speak to anybody, seek. If Crassack's great, you can look their number up online. It's they're a great charity and stuff.
What's that? Sorry, word.
Crassack.
Crassack. How do you spell that?
It's CRASC or something. I don't know. I don't know.
Sorry.
But
Crassack.
I'd have to look it up and give you.
We'll put the link in the description.
There are places that you can seek help,
and
you have to fill out a self-referral form, and that is kind of the first part of the healing process. If you've never said anything, and I know how fucking hard it was for me to write it down, that I needed support, and I needed help because of the stuff that I'd been through. Actually seeing it written down in black and white was fucking horrible, and it was hard to see it, but it's part of the healing process, and nobody's going to help you unless you help yourself first.
Yeah.
So you have to help yourself first before you can start doing anything. And if that's, just writing it down a couple of times, on your notes on your phone or something, and then thinking, right, I can then go and speak to these people about it. Do it. They're lovely. They don't ask you questions. They basically just listen to what you have to say, and then they just kind of ask you how it's made you feel and how you think you can grow from it and stuff. They're really lovely. And, it's part of the healing process. It's going to be a long road, and it's not easy. Not easy in any stretch of the imagination. And it's going to be difficult. But just remember, you're only reliving memories. You're not reliving it every day like you used to. You're just reliving the memories that you have. And memories can't hurt you. Memories just horrible to have to think about. But they can't hurt you. Yeah.
That's deep, man. I'm in constant awe of you, honestly. You're so strong, and just the ability to kind of just, little things like that. Your memories can't hurt you. People listening to this, some people are going to be drowning, as you were at some points in your life. It's been heavy. It's been really heavy, and
I'm sorry for getting upset.
No, it's
Like, it's like, I don't like getting upset about it. I have to, got to own it.
you got to own it.
Yeah.
I definitely want people to feel like, obviously the comment, I'm looking forward to having a look at the comments of this, and just people obviously just let us know what you think. Let us know, obviously, it's going to be a difficult one. Message us, like I say, my email is in my about section, or contact me on Instagram, and we can, you can message me on Instagram, and we'll come back to you. But it's this is such a heavy episode, and it's going to be affecting more people than you think. Obviously, in my book, I'm going to describe about how these things affect all of us. Everybody's got a tale of abuse at a young age, it seems. I remember speaking to a friend of mine when I was young, and she had been fucking... one of her dad's friends had pushed himself on her when she was like 14 or something. When I was in prison, I remember one of my friends, and this was a male friend, his dad's best mate had raped him when he was younger, and he felt like he couldn't say anything to his dad because it was his best mate. And what can you say? As a man as well, you've got to admit that you've been raped by another man.
Yeah.
I mean, that's hugely difficult. I remember when I was a kid, getting bullied as a kid, and I couldn't say anything to my mum because it made me feel like I was being emasculated. I didn't want to feel like I was being picked on, because it made me feel bad as like I was only a fucking boy. I must have been fucking like 8 or 9. And I remember not being able to talk to my mum about being bullied. I'd rather, pretend to be ill and take the day off school to kind of, put a bit of space between me and the bully than say I was being bullied. And as a fucking like 8 or 9-year-old, I felt like my male pride was being attacked.
Yeah.
I couldn't say anything about how I was being bullied. So I understand completely about, not being able to say anything. And and as you look back as an adult now and go, fucking hell, why didn't you just say something? Because your mum would have probably believed you.
Yeah, but when they're older than you,
I know.
There was that age difference.
Yeah.
You look up to them and go, fucking hell, you're right.
I know, because in your young age...
You believe them.
Of course you do.
6-year-old.
Yeah.
If someone says to you, oh, you say anything to your mum, she ain't going to believe you.
No.
She'll be angry at you.
Yeah. I mean,
You'd
what
be
was
like,
that?
Fucking hell, I ain't going to do anything to piss her off.
In the last year or so, I think it was... Was it the American gymnast coach? Do you remember he got caught recently?
Oh, he's a right dirty bastard.
In the last couple of years, yeah. And again, it's that just slight position of power, and suddenly all these different girls just don't say anything.
Yeah.
And he's been abusing people for years. And you'll probably find, it's the same across the board. They're allowed to abuse people for years, and nobody says anything because they have that slight power, whether it be age, position, job, whatever it is.
Yeah.
What would your advice be to anyone who's listened to your story, sat there and has possibly had a similar story, like I say, age, position, power, colleague, job, any kind of abuse? What would your advice be to them today if they haven't said anything so far?
Be fucking vocal about it. Don't sit there and say nothing. Honestly, it's not healthy. It really isn't. Don't do what I did and keep a lid on it for so long. And
what do you think someone who's listening to this advice would be to you? If someone's sitting there listening to this now as a first timer,
why don't you say something sooner?
Do you think you should go to the police now?
What evidence is there? What evidence is there?
There's no evidence, but what it does is it puts a little marker on him.
Yeah, but He says I'm fucking crazy. His wife says I'm crazy. Mum and Dad both say I'm crazy.
But what evidence is there that you're crazy?
There isn't any. I have
Exactly.
absolutely. I'm fucking. But
So-
they're gonna say that I've fabricated this as a fabrication of my mind because I smoke so much weed. Like, I'm not fucking loopy.
But what if it doesn't? What if there's, like I say, 3 or 4 other people have made complaints against him, but nothing's stuck yet? Or what if when they get him into the interview room, he cracks and he admits it? Because who knows what happens when you suddenly get dragged out of your bed at 7 a.m. and you're taken into the interview room, and like it is on 24 hours in police custody, and once he's been left to sweat in the police cell for a few hours, what if they search his computer and there's stuff on his computer? Do you know what I mean? Because this isn't something that was limited to that time. I think, like you said, it only stopped because he moved away. What if it hasn't stopped?
I genuinely hadn't thought of it like that.
What if he cracks under pressure and he just admits it?
Might do, The thing that's stopping me is, what if I go through all that and it's just like, oh no, there's lack of evidence, there's none of this, none of that, and it's just I've gone through all that for absolutely fuck all point.
No, I understand. That's the toss of the coin, isn't it? It's,
At the minute, it's Schrodinger's cat. Like, I say nothing. I don't go to the police.
It's the status quo. Everything's cushy at the moment. You're in a okay place. You've talked about it. You've put a plaster on it.
Yeah.
We haven't rocked the boat too much with your family. Emotionally, you're dealing with it.
To be honest, I couldn't give a fuck if I'd rocked the boat with them. I've got to the point where I don't care.
Yeah.
I only basically fucking keep in contact with them. It's because I worry about them. Because they are getting old and they are fucking stupid. Like, they make the most retarded fucking decisions on the planet. And it worries me that they're going to hurt themselves. And the fact that James is so far away that I can't... And I'm literally 2 minutes down the road. I'm a fucking better person. That's the fucking piss take of it all. I'd rather have absolutely nothing to do with them. To be honest, I'm happy just going on my own, I can perfectly live without them. They can't, to be honest, live without me. And it fucking takes a piss that they didn't believe me. But that's their choice.
What do you think would happen if you spoke to them again about it?
I just think they think I was being fucking crazy. They've made up their mind. They've decided with him. What can I do to persuade them otherwise? What can I say to them that's going to make them realise what I'm saying is true?
Yeah.
They've made their mind up, and they've made their mind up that it's easier for them to think that I'm crazy than to believe what he's saying, to believe what I'm saying about him, sorry.
Yeah.
And they believe what he's saying about me because I smoke weed, so I obviously must be crazy and delusional and make up stuff. Because we all know when you smoke weed you hallucinate. You don't hallucinate, you just cope with life a little bit better.
I wish you did.
That's LSD, love. Not weed.
Weed quite tame. It just makes you sleepy. And eat fucking bags crisp by the kilo.
Yeah. Doesn't make you crazy.
No, unfortunately not.
But if that's easier for them to believe, then crack on.
Yeah.
I know what's true. He knows what's fucking true. If he wants to make up all this bullshit about me, then fuck him.
Yeah. No, I'm just, I don't know how you live with this day by day. I'm so thankful that you wanted to do this with me. I mean, I didn't ask you to do this, did I?
No.
This is I just can't, thank you enough for being brave enough to recount your story and share this with people, because there's bound to be a number of people listening to this right now, and especially the people who have made it all the way to the end. This is another hour long. It's long, difficult listen. So there's going to be people at the end here who have either wanted to listen or are listening because they've been through a similar thing. We're going to put a whole bunch of links in the description for help, advice, support lines, that sort of thing. And again, like we've said, message us if you just want to talk anonymously, or just, so many people get stuff off their chest messaging me. So don't feel like you're ever alone, or that you've ever got to do anything stupid or foolish to deal with this, because there are people who are always here to help you. So yeah, don't ever feel like you're alone.
Don't ever feel like it's your fault, because it's not. If this is, if you've gone through something similar, it's not your fault. The person who's done this to you is a fucking wrong'un. Don't listen to what they said to you. Don't believe it.
And like I say, if you don't feel like you can speak to anyone official, then by all means feel like you can speak to us. We're here. And just writing that first email or first message is the first step to starting to
heal.
The
healing process.
Alright, so again, thank you very much, wife.
It's okay. I just hope I can shed a little light on, these horrible things.
Indeed. And again, like I say, check out the descriptions for the links for help and support on this. Thank you very much for listening.
Take care, everyone.
Bye-bye.